Imagine you're sitting at your desk. You finished your Bible study. You look out and hear rain pouring. You begin to pray to God. As you end the prayer, a thunder crashes and you thank the Lord. After this moment with the Spirit, you sit back down with the same temptation to turn away that you've had for weeks. Your spirit is exhausted and your hope is sitting on the edge. You pray to God, yet feel nothing. The more you cry out, the more hopeless you begin to feel. You have constant thoughts telling you to quit. People surround you who don't care about the Lord. Your spirit is drained, yet the test has just begun. Endurance in your walk doesn't come by a chance. The moments of fatigue are a setup to a bigger plan. In this video, I want to guide you through endurance and why God has allowed you to go through it. By the way, I'm Seth. Stick around because knowing what endurance is doesn't equate to knowing what God is working through your endurance. You're not alone if you're in this time of drought. Just know that God shapes us through these moments of endurance. But with that, let's begin. Save me, God, for the water has risen to my neck. I have sunk in deep mud, and there is no footing. I have come into deep water, and a flood sweeps over me. I am weary from my crying. My throat is parched. My eyes fail looking for my God. Those who hate me without cause are more numerous than the hairs of my head. My deceitful enemies who would destroy me are powerful. Though I did not steal, I must repay. Endurance isn't an easy lesson in your walk with God. Honestly, it's the worst one to learn by far. David was the writer of that psalm I mentioned, and his experience with enduring was no different. In your walk with God, many challenges are going to come to you. That's part of this life that God's given us. There's one important thing about your challenges though. That important thing is the way you handle it. King David wasn't the only one who went through hardship. After King Jehoshaphat made an alliance with a corrupt leader, God called him out and disciplined him. As punishment for Jehoshaphat, God allowed people to hunt him down. A big army had come to fight against the king, and Judah was in a panic. Although he was in this troublesome moment, in his time of fear and testing, the king decided to call towards a fast for all of Judah. The king gathered his people and prayed with all of Judah, requesting God's help. Seek the Lord in the midst of your hardship. In an instant, the Lord responded, telling Judah that their fight was not theirs, but his. Despite their time of discipline, God would take on their battle for them. The moment you seek God, He hears you. The next day, they got up early, going out to where the battle would take place, in confidence. The king encouraged the people in a God-focused speech and appointed different groups to worship, pray, and fight. As Judah began to praise and glorify God, the Lord sent an ambush against their oppressors. After doing this, they went down to go and see what happened, and everyone was defeated. Everyone who had come to fight against Judah was full with an abundance of goods, reapings to gather for days. When people who were around them had heard about what God had done for them, they respected and feared Judah. God saved them. And the moments you decide to seek God, the Lord will reward you beyond what you could ever expect. These moments of endurance are times of testing, and God uses your hardships like this, and He allows you to be in them. He does this so He can help you later on. In your state where you are in despair, the time where the mud overtakes you, there is hope. So cry out to the Lord continuously, because God is with you even whenever everyone is against you. You can trust in the Lord, and you can turn to Him, and He will aid you in your situation. God will hear your prayers, and He will take notice of your tears. And the time that you seek the Lord and cry out to Him, God will save you and bless you. While the Lord does work quickly in some situations, there are also times where it's just not that simple. Sometimes a lesson learned is more important than instant relief. Your time of grief that seems to be forever isn't a waste. God uses the time of endurance as something to push you to new heights, despite how unexpected it may be. During the Babylonian exile, the survivor wrote down how he felt during the moment. The author is believed to be a prophet named Jeremiah, who had been the one to warn Judah of God's punishment in the first place. In the 3rd chapter of Lamentations, Jeremiah expressed how God turned away from him all felt like God surrounded him with people who were against him and never would take notice of any of his prayers. He felt this way because those around him mocked him, and he lost all of his peace because of this. Jeremiah was in a depression. But despite this, there was something Jeremiah remembered. He said, "Because of the Lord's faithful love, we do not perish, for his mercies never end." Jeremiah remembered that God is good to those who are patient, and it is good to wait quietly for God's salvation. In Jeremiah's depression, he found hope in the Lord. Instead of weeping endlessly, Jeremiah began to reflect and decided that he would submit to God and accept this discipline and humble himself before the Lord. There was hope in his heart that God would forgive him, that God would show compassion. There was hope that God, in his glory, didn't take pleasure in punishing his people. Now, let's examine and probe our ways and turn back to the Lord, Jeremiah said. In the moment of despair and oppression, Jeremiah called out to the Lord and proclaimed God's faithfulness confidently. He placed his hope in the Lord, who he was confident would listen to him. Endurance isn't always an easy lesson, but there is hope in it. God allows us to turn to him in our grief, and when we do, God will be a light. Now, Jeremiah's time of endurance and lamentations was the biggest slap to his face in his life. God had allowed him to face the persecution that was meant for his enemies. Your time of endurance will not always be brief. Jeremiah's moment of struggle was not only made to be taken as a way of hope for anyone who hears his testimony, but was made to help him be closer to God himself. Now, in Galatians, Paul says, "Let us not get tired of doing good, for we will reap at a proper time if we don't give up." Your time of endurance is a learning moment. It's an opportunity to reflect and encourage people in your situation. God allows for you to be in these struggles that look hopeless in order for you to break into greater things. True endurance produces lasting faithfulness. These times of endurance that we see in the Bible do connect to our situation in ways that aren't always visible. In my own life, I'm also facing challenges just like King Jehoshaphat and just like Jeremiah. I'm experiencing sowing that is not met with reward. Times I have to reflect over my sin, and moments I quarrel, deciding not to just throw away my faith altogether. The truth is that your walk with God is never going to be easy. But the moments of endurance, the moments that we are tested, call to daily discipline, so we don't fall into the same trap over and over again. Trust me, I know this is hard. I'm not perfect, and in my own life, in this moment of time, I have had to decide that I'm going to make these videos and put all my effort into this. I've postponed my job search for a bit so I can completely focus on God. Now, while I'm blessed to have this opportunity, this time that I can stay here, my current sowings have not been met with any reward or swift action from the Lord. In fact, all of my plans at this time have failed. People around me try to cause me to turn away from God. I don't really have much guidance. This moment of desperation for me isn't something that happened without a reason though. I can look to God and remember that He has worked out this time in order to set me up in this time of life. I can reflect on my situation, and I can take time to better prepare myself and try to make my content better before I have discouragement from others. Now, outside of these videos, I can look at the real daily discipline, the challenges that come with true obedience. In this moment of humbleness, I have many temptations to walk away weekly that I have to deny. The people that surround me try to cause me to walk from God. I have to decide to stand up and be bold in the Spirit, which is difficult to do, but that's why God's preparing me through my struggle. I have to look at my own hypocritical moments and try to cut it off daily, thinking about what I may say before actually saying it, or thinking about what I do before I actually do it. Additionally, I personally face lustful temptations that I must deny so that I may not turn away from God. Now, your walk with God is more than a book of rules. Even if this just looks like a checklist, the moment you do plug in these decisions to your life are the moments that God brings you to exaltation. Walking with God is more than an easy stroll through a clear-cut path. The reality is that you're wandering through a forest while God cuts hedges out for you to cross through. Not every season in your walk will be easy, but your endurance will produce faithfulness. The moments you decide to sit with God in the dark are the moments that God works everything out the most. And when you decide to stay with Him in the storm, God's salvation is brought to life. The moments you trust in His salvation, not only by word, but by your actions, are the true signs of God's salvation. When you're in a time of endurance, you can seek the Lord and remember His grace. The Lord will not leave you alone when you're in hardship. Even when God doesn't work quickly, remain faithful because God is working for your favor. While you're in the mud and you're drowning in despair, you won't understand the things that God is working. The faint continuous whispers that tell you that it's not going to work out are not permanent. There is hope for you in the void of your hardship. You can trust in God, for He uses endurance as a lesson for us. Just as the Lord has given you moments of endurance, He also had given a man who did nothing wrong the punishment that he didn't deserve. No, I'm not talking about Jeremiah again, but Jesus. Just like God let us go through struggle for a reason, Jesus also went through a struggle for a purpose. Jesus was led to the cross as He was guiding people to God and doing everything that He was told. He was reminded of what was coming for Him. When Jesus was in His walk, there were people who were already falling to the fate of the cross that He was approaching Himself. Additionally, people around Him were betraying Him. Even His own disciples were betraying Him. In His walk, Jesus was tempted to walk away many times, but His endurance led to victory. Jesus was steadfast and faithful in His God. When Jesus was at His climax, He continued to cry out to the Lord. All of the moments of endurance Jesus went through was for a purpose. And just like His endurance was for a purpose, ours are for a purpose too. We can look to the Lord and remember His enduring love for us. The Lord will never walk away from you. The moments that the Lord allows you to endure are the moments that lead to your true faithfulness coming to light. And in the moments where you see nothing happening, you can look to Christ and His Word. And in this, you can find true hope in His salvation. Hey, thank you for watching this video. I believe that everything that was in this video was from God. And I hope that you were impacted by this video yourself. Let me know how this video spoke to you in the comments. In the moment of your endurance, God is teaching you lessons that will lead to your season of patience, which is what video I have paired with this one. So go watch it, because it is just as important, if not more important than this one. But remember, the Lord will bless you.